this gimmick's gonna work today, but we'll see. But we should be live. And if you guys can see us, we're live, pal.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the General Admission Wrestling Podcast, the only wrestling podcast that cuts to the nitty gritty and gets in the wheels and gets to the nitty gritty of the weird and wild world of professional wrestling. Wait, what?
Ben, wrong show.
Oh yeah, we haven't done. God damn it! Oh god, I don't have to fucking host for once. I can just fucking talk. Oh great, I'm totally in my element. You know what's hilarious? If you go back and you watch a lot of the GAWP episodes, and this is not me burying either one of you, but I'm the one who kind of sets everything up, and then I just let you and Mike go for 10 minutes.
Yeah. I think that was our best format though.
It was.
That was the best thing we did because I've learned throughout doing this now and doing the podcast for so long, it's you kind of want to set a tone and then just let everyone else get their shit in.
That makes sense.
It works. That's how GAWP was. We just, okay, you did the whole shebang and then we'll start talking. But to do the actual intro, what is up, everyone? This is the Law Ray Ramundo, and we are back with another edition of the Laws Roundtable. We're finally back. This is episode number 8, and I can't believe we're not canceled yet, but okay. We're still here, and I had to bring a good brother of mine. This is a little bit of a GAWP reunion here, as I'm live with Benjamin Falbo. It feels weird to say it that way. I'm just gonna call you Ben. I can't say.
Okay,
I can't be proper anymore. Sorry, guys. I tried.
It's who the fuck? What the fuck are for you and me at this point? What the fuck are formalities at this point? Because we did. For those who don't know, me and Ray did a show for 3 years. I want to say 3 years.
Yep.
3 years called the General Admission Wrestling Podcast. And so, I've known this guy for a long time. So, it's kind of pointless to do for me to introduce myself to you at this point. So I guess, it's weird doing this in a new context.
It really is. You know what it is? I feel especially, again, when we change the format, anything like that, the outlook of it. But it's still just us. We haven't changed. We haven't done anything else. It's still you, it's still me. It's just different outlook. So, boom, we have the roundtable here. We already have a question from Cal is Wrestling. A question for Ben. Why? Why, Ben?
Why? Okay, well, that leaves itself open to a lot of interpretations. So let's take that from the back. Why? There's a lot of things you can take out of that word, why am I making the things that I'm making? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Why am I presenting myself to the world in a very specific way? That opens itself up to a lot of avenues, but the answer to, I think, all of them is kind of just because I feel like it.
And we're going to be talking about a lot of that today, so boom, there you go. Perfect segue there, guys. So let's start talking. Let's start talking about this. Let's start, because last time we spoke, I feel like it was at maybe the halfway point of this craziness that we're in. So it's been a few more months. It's been a lot of things have happened. A lot of things have changed. But how's it going, brother? How you feeling?
I am both the most overwhelmed and uncertain I've been in a while, but I'm also feeling that I've been closer to the kind of success that I want to achieve, more so than I've ever been in my life. It's a delicate balancing act, but that's where I'm at currently.
I feel like that's when you're a creator of anything, if it's digital media, if it's anything in any form of art, I feel like you're always going to be at that balance of this is where we're at, and you still don't know if you're at that point. I'm right there. Am I getting close to there? What is truly there anymore? And I feel like with us that we're changing our goals and we're changing what it is we want to produce. It's you never know anymore.
It's a constantly, it's cliche to say this, but it's the being in any kind of entertainment or content creation, it's an ever-changing beast.
Yeah.
And you have to, even if it's something small, you have to put something out every few weeks, every few months, just so the populace knows that you're still doing things. So it's you gotta, when I say it's content creation, it is content creation. You are creating content, whether it's for 15 people or for like 1 million people watching you. And it's not the easiest line of work to break into. And Lord knows, like, there's a significant uphill curve to getting it to a sustainable point in your life. But like, when you go through it, you're going to have something unique that like no one else is going to have. Like, that's something that Joey Diaz says. Like, if you bust your ass, you're going to have something that nobody else has. And that's kind of the fulfilling part of it for me.
Yeah. Hey, gotta listen, Uncle Joey. No, but definitely, like, I feel like we spoke about this even off air. We spoke about it earlier. Like, we both are seeking those creative goals. Like, we both have found what it is that we love to do, our passions there. And you said it best. It's like, when you're doing this, it never stops. That content creating has to be there. Like, I took my break this week. I spoke about it on my stream yesterday. And it's like, even though that I was taking that break, it's like I had ideas flowing again. Like, I needed to do this. I needed to do this. And it's like, you never stop when you're really passionate about something. And I feel like that's what it's our gift, and it's also our curse in a sense, if you catch my drift.
If anybody told you that we were just your average everyday happy-go-lucky guys, not a care in the world, somebody lied.
Oh man! But we also have to talk about, because actually last time we spoke on a platform like this, we were talking about wrestling in general. We were talking about our interests, but we also now have to talk to you about the documentaries, because I didn't get to ask on the last time we did, because we usually don't break in like what we do on GAWP, but on here it's like, hey, whatever we want to do. I had to ask, what is it that made you want to start doing the documentaries and start doing these products of yours?
I want to say because like it came from like this restless place within me, like this creative fire, or something like pretentious and like masturbatory like that. But the God's honest truth is, I saw what guys like Kenny Johnson were doing on YouTube with like Please Don't Die, Joey Janela, Came for Stiff, Sammy Callahan, like the Orange Cassidy documentary, the PCO documentary, and I was seeing like Dark Side of the Ring became a thing, and I was like, wow, professional wrestlers leave these really interesting lives, and I was like, I would really love to do that. And that also coincided with a college class I was taking. I should say it came from two things: interest and necessity. I was taking a lot of classes back in college, for just to less them all would take too much time, but like editing classes, portfolio classes, filmmaking courses, like design courses, like all these different things. And for so many, and at the same time, I was working for Capital Wrestling, now Catalyst Wrestling. And it just kind of felt like a logical way to get something tangible out of the work I was doing at the time. Because like, I felt like I'm going to be around these interesting people. I might as well do something with it. So I made a movie. It's called, I think it was called Zero Dimes and Sweaty Tights. Like a story of NYC professional wrestlers. And it was like 10 minutes. And it featured Smiley, TJ Marconi, and someone else I cannot mention because they have been canceled. So I'm just going to leave it there. I need to be transparent about that because I think it's hysterical at this point that I have something in my catalog like that. But hey, you got to be honest about these things. That said, I'm not ashamed of it. But there's a reason I don't make it like very publicly available. Yeah. It's honestly, for a first attempt, I think it's pretty good. Like it has ebb and flow to it, and it has visuals. But it's very if you compare it to something that I made this year or last year, like it's a night and day comparison. Which
I feel like that keeps you on your toes, though. It keeps you humble to see that growth. Like you want to see stuff like, I love how Facebook gives you the memory option, and it's like, I've seen graphics that I've done, and I'm like, I want to pull my hair. Like it's.
I have seen work I've done going far back as like 4 years, and I honestly can't think don't know what I was thinking sometimes.
Yeah, it's like it, and again, it just shows how we grow, which is a great thing. Like no matter what you do, especially in wrestling, you're gonna know. especially if you're passionate about it, if you really are serious, you're going to grow with your craft and you're going to get better at it. Well, you're supposed to get better at it. And luckily, we both have definitely have, because again, that's why I want to talk to you about these amazing documentaries you have put out. Especially, let's start with this one. I have the graphic already set up. It's like I knew I was going to talk about this, but let's talk about the
movie. Hey, listen, like the wizard does not pull back the curtain. Okay.
This is the best thing because it's like there's no editing, so it's like I have to have this set up. But it's like
to quote our surrogate father, like "'Kiz his fave, motherfucker, 'kiz his fave."
But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the rise and fall of Blackcraft. That was like your big like kick in the door here to all this, and it's like we're almost a year in since you released it. If I'm not mistaken?
It just passed like at least 3 days ago on September 9th. It was the 1 year anniversary of the rise and fall of Blackcraft Wrestling.
Like, geez, that's what, 30,000 almost?
Last I checked, it's edging towards 30,000 views. So
jeez.
that is still the thing that I am most known for. I still receive comments for. I still get the infrequent tweet about. And when I bring it up, it's the one thing that I feel perfectly comfortable, like, name dropping around people, like at a social event, that, hey, I have 30,000 views on this thing that I made. It's like, it is one of the very few pieces of content that I've made that I can very much declare as a flex for me, just a little bit.
Hey, you got to put something, you gotta be like, hey, I did this. People are talking about it. I had this person on there. Like, yep. No, but it also is very well done. I got to give you that, brother. Like, not just because you're my friend, but it is very well done. And I feel like when you talk about a subject like that, it's very touching because it's like it's that double-edged sword of there's going to be people that enjoy this, but then you're going to get the flack from people that are like, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
Okay, it's been a while since I've had to talk about this movie because I did a few guest appearances talking about this back when it came out. I was on the Bad Wrestling podcast and I gave them the whole rundown of this thing because shout out to those guys, by the way, they're awesome. But in the time since the release of the movie, it has developed this reputation of like, I very much, and here's the thing, this is literally like the first time I did something like this. This was a video that was supposed to be 30 minutes long at the most, and ended up ballooning into double that length because I simply could not stop putting stuff into that movie. Because you gotta understand, when I made that thing, it came out of boredom. And I know that seems very cynical to say, but like, you gotta keep in mind, it was like the first 2 months of lockdown when I started working on that thing. Like, you know, those early days of COVID where we didn't know how bad this shit, we knew we had an idea, but like we had no idea how bad it was going to get. There was just this period of time where I was down in the basement, just bored out of my mind. I had another film I had been working on that I'm sure we'll talk about later. But
graphics already set up. We'll definitely be talking about that in a bit.
Kayfabe that. But yeah, and I was just thinking to myself, God damn it, I am fucking bored. And it's just nothing to fucking do but like eat and take naps and just watch shit. That's all it was. And I was just dicking around on Twitter, which is how most of my good and bad ideas start. And I see this person has since changed their handle, so I'm sorry if I can't even say their name, but there was this person on Twitter who was doing a thread about like how it sucked that Blackcraft Wrestling vanished. And I made a joke in the comments, and I'm sure at some point I've tweet deleted this by now because everyone should do that every 6 months, by the way. That's my public service announcement to all of you.
Yeah, I gotta do that.
Do it. But I made a joke and I said, hey, you know, because I had just binge watched the Rise and Fall of ECW. And I'd been like I was drinking whiskey. I was watching that a couple times, and I was like, yeah, this would be cool to do for Blackcraft because that came and went in a year, and it had this big fucking impact. No,
and it definitely, it's like it's the perfect timing because it's like it had its cult following for that year that lasted though. People definitely got very close to it and very like they were following of it.
there was a following for this thing,
Yeah.
and that's why when I made that joke, I said it very haphazardly. I was like, I've been meaning to make the rise and fall of Blackcraft Wrestling. 15 minutes after I send that tweet, Matthew Justice does the little eye glance emoji to respond to it, and it's kind of like holy shit, like Senpai has noticed me.
Yeah.
And oh my god, they've noticed. Because for those who don't know, Matt Justice was the last ever Blackcraft Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. And he basically said, hey, if you want to do... And I literally just said, let's talk. And we got into each other's DMs, and he said to me, like, if you want to do this, I can actually help you do this. I can get you these people. And he ended up getting me Brandon Lombardo, one of the legitimate people behind it creatively, and that led to Zicky Dice, that recent Impact signee, Zicky Dice. Shout out to him. Check out his Twitch streams. Those are fantastic.
Yeah, definitely are.
Those guys are the top tier content right there. G Raver, GCW frequent deathmatch, fucking badass G Raver. Soraya Knight.
Yep.
The matriarch of the Knight household, which blew my mind, by the way, which was like, I watched a movie of you. I said this to her. I watched a film where you were portrayed by a person, and now I am talking to you, the actual person.
That was like perfect timing too, because the movie had just come out maybe in the few months when you were doing that. So it's like, hey.
It worked. I think it was still kind of a recent movie. I knew it had like at least done its home media release, and people were watching it. And I know OSW did a thing about it.
Yep.
But yeah, eventually it just came down to, you're doing nothing else right now. You have literally no excuse. Somebody I spoke to said you literally have no excuse not to do this. You are doing nothing. When are these people going to be this accessible again? Because everyone's at home doing nothing right now.
Yep.
And people are starved for new content. So I was like, fuck it. If I'm going to be down here, I can't hunt for a job right now because, like, the world's on fire.
Yeah.
And so I was like, fuck it. I'm going to be the guy that makes the rise and fall of Blackcraft Wrestling. So I made a poster. I put it out. It gets, like, a little bit of buzz. And so for the next, for that entire summer, I worked on that fucking thing from head to tail.
Yep.
And when I tell you I was throwing shit into that thing until the very last minute.
Oh, he was. Like, I can tell you from a friend's experience, like him sending like, oh, this is rough draft number 2, rough draft number 75. And it's like every time he would send an update, I'm like, bro, how is this getting better? Because there's more content going in, and there's little edits of this and this and this, and it's like, again, you guys got to see the final version of it, and it's like there's so much, and I can imagine, again, just to break the fourth wall there, I can imagine there's even more stuff you'd have wanted to put afterward.
Oh, dude,
like,
I had like 2 more months to work on that thing. I would have tried to. First of all, one of my big regrets, and like, it was kind of a pipe dream. But you know what? Never say never say never about these kind of things. I wanted so badly to get PCO. Like, I really wanted to see if I could get in contact with PCO, or at least Destro.
Man, you know what's crazy? I would imagine they would have been down too. Like, yeah, bro, what this whole is like, especially with everything going on with the pandemic, I feel like content right now, it's like, you kind of have to say, fuck it. What's the worst they're going to say? No? Precisely. Like, legit, I had, a few weeks ago, you saw, I spoke to Jimmy Jacobs on here. And the thing I did was legit, and I'll say it here. I just sent him a message. And it's like, I feel like we get into our own heads that's like, I don't think they're gonna get into it. What's like, and boom, it's like, damn. But hey, you never know. There could always be a time for the next documentary. Who knows? So
potentially, yeah. Because like, there was so much that I really, really wanted to do for that thing. But the 11th hour decision that I made with that movie, you gotta understand, I could have put that movie out like way earlier than I could have.
Oh yeah.
But I got a wild hair up my ass at the 11th hour, and I'm not even kidding. I just got this stupid idea to just be like, hey, you know what this fucking thing needs? A song cover of a song cover. I reached out to my friend, and she changes her name on social like every year or so. Right now, her name on Facebook is Alistair Idexman, or Alistair Joan Gorman. I believe you've met her once or twice.
Yeah.
Like, she went to the Legends Bar with us once or twice for wrestling shows.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah.
And I knew that she was a really talented guitarist and vocalist.
Yeah.
And so I just rolled the dice, and I was like, hey, listen, I have, like, no money right now, which I'm going to say a lot in this, by the way. I have no money to, like, pay you, like, a ton, but I could pay you, like, $40 to $50, like, at least for enough for 5 trips to Chipotle, maybe, if that's your metric. And I said to her, can you do a cover of Kurt Cobain singing In the Pines on MTV's Unplugged, which is a cover of a Leadbelly song. So I asked for a cover of a cover of a cover.
I love how it's so specific too. It's like this version of it that's not even the original. It's like, you gotta love it. Which again, guys, when you're doing stuff like this, you kind of have to get that like specific with it, just for the legalities of all this. Like,
Precisely.
Again, like I'm planning something. Like I've started talking to some artists. Like, because again, love Twitch, love YouTube, but copyrights on here are a bitch.
Oh God, it's the fucking it's the most bullshit things. This is another behind the scenes thing about Blackcraft that I've never said publicly before. Technically speaking, there is a copyright strike on that video. Now, my channel is not at the point where I can monetize things, but even if I could, I couldn't monetize the video, unfortunately. But the copyright strike came from the most unexpected thing. The end credits, I do the ending stinger with Brandon and Zicky about how the whole thing could have been in Zicky's head, which I thought was just the perfectly great way to end it after the In the Pines montage. And I thought that Zicky Dice's theme, which I thought was a fair use internet track, is actually copyrighted by somebody. So apparently you can't do that. Which is weird because that song appears a few times in the doc, but I think it's because there's commentary and like it's on the house mic.
Yeah, you know how it works. Like there's little things like I think
you can distort
audio,
audio,
I feel like the biggest thing is like if it's any audio, if it's changed by like a few seconds off, like if it's that different, it counts. You're good. But probably just by you playing it clean, that's the fit. But again, guys, this is what it takes. Like this is what the details of everything. Like those little things are killers to us as content creators.
And I've learned so much from that little doc that I made because I've learned how kind the internet can be.
Yeah.
And I learned how kind of mean it can be.
Yeah.
I knew that for a while, but this is the first time that it literally became. This is the first time I've put out something that a large amount of people are talking about, especially some people that are up in the higher level of the business right now. Now, for the sake of not like starting shit, 'cause like I'm not about that. This is as far as I'll go with it. There were some people who did not take kindly to a detail that I, in fairness, had gotten wrong in the movie. And there's a YouTube comment underneath the doc that clarifies this. I had my one and only mistake with the movie is I really should have, and this is my honest regret, I should have spoken to at least one or two people who worked at the preceding show.
Yeah. We'll keep their name out of it just for...
If you know, you know. I'm trying to do this in a way that's a little bit... I hope you'll understand. Yeah. And essentially, I should have spoken to some of those people and verified, hey, person B and C said one thing here. Can you maybe verify if any of this lines up? So I am proud that 85 to 90% of everything in the documentary is, I feel, researched. I asked the right people. I got the inside story about things internally. This was like the one thing that's kind of, I should have verified it with other people. And that was the factoid I got wrong was that Blackcraft that the previous show had overrun their time. And that is what kind of dicked over the no apologies event at White Eagle Hall. That is not true. And the factors that caused them to run over were fairly internal of Blackcraft Wrestling.
Yeah.
So in fairness, and I was very much called out on that in the comments on Twitter, and I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy I got that detail wrong, but I'm glad that I was called out on it. But like, it was kind of a cold splash of water where I was like, huh. Sometimes when you're talking about an event, you have to like look at it from all angles.
I feel like I remember we spoke about this, and it's like, again, like even before we started talking about it, it's the double-edged sword. That's like, we knew people had their take on it. That was, a lot of people were that cult following, and then there's the people that didn't like it as much. So it was like, either way, something was going to stir the pot, sadly. But to your, I guess, to put you over a little bit with this, like you said, a majority of the information you gave out was factual. It was to a T. It was correct. I'll give you that, because a lot of times when we do watch these wrestling documentaries, or documentaries in general, half the time it's like, oh yeah, let's ask this person who heard it from a person who heard it from that person that wasn't even there. So it's like, at least you went to a majority of the actual sources, because people that actually work for the place, and it's done that with every minute you put out. You actually get perspectives from people that know what the fuck is going on. That it's not just, oh yeah, let's ask Billy Bob over here what he thinks. Like,
hey Billy, what do you think?
Like, and again, guys, this is stuff you have to do. Like, even when I do this podcast, it's like, do your research, know what it is you're talking about, because if not, you look stupid on here, and it's the worst thing you could do. Again, though, to those that are new at this, and still, it doesn't hurt to also get that little bit of water in your face, because also, hey, it's how you learn. Again, this wasn't the first doc Ben is doing. This won't be the last. So it's a growth process. Hey, 30,000 people watched it though. That's something. Like,
it's the one thing. Like, yeah, I look at that view. Like, when I went to bed that night and it had maybe 1,000 hits, and I woke up in the morning and it had like 3,000 hits, and I was like, holy fuck, this thing is. And before I knew it, I was at 10,000 views, and then I was at 20,000. I'm almost at 30,000. So a year on, and I still get a slow but steady trickle of subscribers to my YouTube because of that. I've almost at 400 subscribers.
Hey, there you go.
And that's a small but like very meaningful milestone for me, because that's the most I've ever had.
Oh, there you go. And I feel like that's what it is. Again, like I said earlier, as a content creator, you have those goals that's like, okay, this is what I want to get to, and then you start moving on. And you start creating those goals, and it's like, hey, a year ago, who would have known what would have come out of it? A year later, like you said, over 400 subscribers there, almost 30,000 views on that one video alone. And again, more content to put out for that audience, and so much more that's like, again, you can create those goals and see this is why it's worth it. But from Blackcraft, I have to talk about, before we get to the other ones as well, one of my favorite documentaries you've put out. And it's not just because he's a friend of ours, but I got to talk about it. Let's show the graphic here. A Dripping Skull production, which again is a production that you go under. The One Above All documentary on Anthony Gang Go. Who possibly could be a future guest? Who knows? Not saying anything. But this one I definitely got to put over, because it, to me, was, again, one of my favorites, just based off the scoring you did on it, because again, I'm a mark for, again, everything Kurt Russell, like a lot of that kind of stuff in there. Those little details that's like,
I'm glad you brought. I never got a chance to thank them publicly for this, but I like to thank of course, I found all the synth and 80s and Carpenter music I could find. The Anthony Gangone theme that I use in the opening credits is a original piece. It's made by Greg Massey, and he's the former composer for Capitol, now Catalyst Wrestling. He did a lot of amazing tracks for us during that era, and one of those, he did several themes for Anthony Gangone, but my favorite was this 80s Kurt Russell, like Big Trouble in Little China inspired track of his, and I thought, oh, this is perfect. If you go and you watch that title sequence, I modeled that shit directly after Big Trouble in Little China. Like big action, black title card. Like big action, black title card.
And it's so, again, like, especially if you're big into that, those little details, you're like, I see it. I see where this is from. I get it. And again, especially if you're a fan of Ants, you can see those imagery already in his own attire and his own persona itself. So it's like it fits with the documentary. And again, to me, it was one of my favorites just because of topics that were spoken about, stuff that he brought up, and just, again, how you put it out in a very, how can I put it? It was done well for the seriousness also in it. Not to go into too much detail because not for us to speak on, but there's a lot of topics. Again, I encourage anyone that hasn't seen it to definitely give it a watch, just because I will commend you on that you were able to put on not only the lighter stuff that's on there, again, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of stuff that we're into, the pop culture and everything like that, but also a lot of seriousness on there that was done so well that's like, this is good. This is very professional take on it. And again, it shows that growth there.
That was, he really, not to, again, like, when I spoke to Anthony about doing that, he was very, I guarantee I'm probably going to get something wrong about this. He's going to, like, kick my ass for this, or he'll get Valentina to kick my ass, which that would be worse, honestly. But he was very transparent with me about wanting to, this was the first time he had shown to that side of himself in a public piece of media, and I was incredibly honored that he allowed me to be the one to show that. So when I did that sequence, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it, because I'm not going to recount it here because it's not my story to tell. It's his own thing, and he does it far better than I or Ray ever could. There is a point in the movie that I loosely call this is where the movie stops being fun for a little bit, and it's a long, at least 3 to 4 minute sequence where I don't cut, I have no music, it's black and white, and it is just a man telling you a very serious story about a very serious moment in his life. And I thought to myself, you are in this moment, and this is the most pretentious I'll ever get, in this moment, you are a content creator and a short filmmaker. You are a filmmaker, and you have to handle this in a very specific way. This isn't like handling this is handling not only just a social issue, but like something that a lot of people talks about, like mental health. That's what I'll say. And it talks about someone's mental state, and like there was a lot of stuff. He was very vulnerable, and I very much appreciated his level of candor and his brutal honesty about the whole thing. It wasn't easy. I'm positive it wasn't easy for him to talk about that. And again, I can't overstate enough just how honored I was to tell that story, but be the one to facilitate it. And when I finished it, I was like, when I've shown that movie to family members of mine, and even the ones who don't get it, they watch that sequence and they're like, you did a good job conveying the somber nature of that. And that's one of the few compliments I will honestly happily take without any reservation, because I genuinely think I did a good a job as I could have showcasing that very serious element of it. And that's why I went the extra mile to make sure that the rest of the movie was very positive, very vibrant, very fun. That's why I wanted to balance that out. You get the good and the
definitely. Bad. And I feel like, again, that's why I'll applaud you on that, because, again, it's needed. These things are also like, it's out there. It has to be done in a nature like that. But again, it has the perfect mix of, like you said, it's that vibrant color throughout the whole movie, and you get to that piece, and it's like, it's beautifully done. It gives you enough that you're like, you know what? I can take this and still enjoy the other parts of it and feel like, you know what? I get something from it. I learned something from it. Not just, oh, this is another wrestling documentary, you know? And again, it's greatly done. Again, I encourage anyone that is into documentaries like this, to give it a watch. You'll be able to enjoy not only a great story from Anthony Gangone, but also, hey, there's a lot of great content on there from companies like CZW, companies like Capital/Catalyst Wrestling, and so much more. So definitely give that a watch.
Definitely. So, I'm very proud of that.
Awesome. But from now we're going to go into one that, just looking at the graphic here, you definitely can talk about there's a lot going on. So we have to talk about the Jersey Devils reject himself, Zach Amico. And yes, you read that correctly. It features Lloyd Kaufman himself.
Okay.
Let's get into in your head when you're thinking about creating something like this. Where do you start?
With pleasure. Well, I was finishing up the Gangone documentary, and I was thinking to myself, you need to follow this up with something bigger. Like I had done a few projects before that. I did my school stuff, did IMMV Young, did One Above All. And I thought to myself, I need to do something bigger. And at the time, I was I'm currently back working with them on a project basis now, but I was doing my first little tenure interning for the Gas Digital Podcast Company. And if you don't listen to them, wonderful people, wonderful programming, we'll put them over 1,000 times, and you'll soon be able to buy merchandise that I have designed on the podcast merch store through Gas Digital. I'm not at liberty to say what just yet, but it's because it's not out yet and some of it's still being approved, but there's a very good chance we'll see something that I designed be available for general consumption very soon. But I was working for them, and I had already been introduced to Zach Amico through Catalyst Wrestling. And Zach, from the moment I met him, just struck me as what the fuck is going on with this dude? And I was and the more I learned, the more I found out, I'm wait a minute, he works in horror? Wait a minute, he works with trauma? Hold on a second, this guy just actively gets naked on stage? Wait a minute, this guy's his dick gets snapped in a rat trap? What the fuck? And of course, being on Legion of Skanks, Real Ass Podcast, his own podcast, Midnight Spook Show, and I was this dude is legitimately something. And I was wow, and I had a mild friendship with him at the time, I still do. I can't lie and say we hang out all the fucking time, but I do get to see this guy quite a bit, and he's just a wonderful human being. And I spoke to him, and I was I literally was at the Gas Digital Christmas party that year, and I was a little sauced, not gonna lie. And I just literally, I was you know what? Shoot, you know what? You got a half a bucket cranberry in you right now. You got you're chasing that with a scotch. Why not just go all the way with it? Just shoot your shot. So I just said to him, hey, can I make a documentary about you? And he was yeah, sure. And we literally went from there. And I started off getting footage of a stand-up act of his in Long Island City, which felt like the logical first thing to do. And that was great. And I have footage of that in full. And I'm going to ask him, I've been meaning to put that out for a while, and I'm going to ask him if he wants me to. So put a pin in that one for now.
Stay tuned, folks.
Haven't said that on a podcast in 3 fuck. Do you remember I used to say we'll put a pin in that?
And it's we never got back to it.
Only 1, 2, 3 times out of 5 we'd ever usually go back to the fucking topic. Oh my god.
Good times.
That was good times. But yeah, and then I started from there, and then fucking COVID hit. No. There was one thing I did before that. I had gotten the stand-up back, and I thought to myself, you want this to be the biggest thing you've ever made. So what's the biggest thing I could do? And I thought to myself, maybe I should talk to Lloyd Kaufman. And I was maybe. And I know that he does stuff like that. So I asked Zach for Lloyd's email, and he very graciously gave it to me. And I could even bring up the email that I wrote to him if you'll permit me just a moment, because I think I actually have that. I never deleted this. So I actually think, because you gotta understand, this is, for those who don't know who Lloyd is, which shame on you if you don't. Lloyd Kaufman is the co-founder and current president of Trauma Entertainment, Trauma Films. They are the world's oldest independent movie company, and they've been basically making 5-cent movies for over 40 years. And very few people, Zach says this in the doc, very few people know how to make a movie for no money like Lloyd Kaufman does. He's also described as a senior psychopath. Imagine if Mel Brooks did a bunch of acid and you also went to Yale, and then you will have the cerebral concoction, like Jello shot, that is Lloyd Kaufman. He's an absolutely wonderful human being, and I found it. Here's what I wrote to him. Dear Mr. Kaufman, my name is Benjamin Falbo. I am a longtime Troma fan, and was just in correspondence. And I was just in correspondence with Zach Amico. I was wondering if you would have the time to possibly invest in my little movie. And I basically said, I've done this, I've done that. If you have the time, thank you very much. And literally 15 minutes later, he gets back to me and he's like, I loved it. He literally just, the shortest sentence, which is how I know he wrote it himself, because it was like a very old man email. Old man email. He was like, I love Zach. 2 periods. Let's do it. I'll send you the contact for my assistant to set it up. So he sends me the contact for his assistant, Tom, who was a wonderful guy who helped me out with this. And I set up a date, missed the first date because of shenanigans, set up a second date, made it there that time, and I got to go to Troma headquarters in Long Island City, which I now live in, which is fitting. I'm in Astoria, right on the border. And I walk, and I get to go into Troma headquarters, Troma HQ, the belly of the beast. And eventually, I get there, and I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. And in comes Lloyd. He's wearing, like, his old man tracksuit that says Yale on it. He has, like, his New Balance shoes on.
Oh, man.
He's just randomly talking about, like, dates and, like, commitments and other stuff. I introduce myself, and he's like, okay, I'm going to go sit at my desk, and let's go do the interview. And I was like, okay. And he's like, where do you... He let me direct him, which was... I legitimately thought to myself, how much direction am I going to have to do here? I had questions prepared. So I said, let's film me at your desk. And he was just like, if you need anything, we have tripods, we have microphones, we have everything you could use. We have a green screen if you want to use that. They were opening the keys to the kingdom to me, essentially. I got to go around, I got to film the various props and, like, other things that were left on the floor from their then at the time newest production, Shakespeare, hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. And I got to stand there, and for at least 45 minutes, I wish I could have gone longer, honestly, but I didn't want to take up too much of the guy's time. I got to sit there and ask questions to a guy who I had been seeing, I'd been watching Troma movies since I was, 14,
No.
So... And I finally got to legitimately stand there in Troma HQ and take a victory photo with legitimately one of my heroes, which was... And I got to put over another person of mine who's gone on to become a very good friend of mine. I got to put over Zach. And I can definitively say that the Troma section in that documentary is probably my favorite part of that whole thing. That's the part I really worked on, wanted to get right, really put everything but the kitchen sink into it.
That's amazing, though. And again, it's like I spoke about earlier, those opportunities that, again, the worst thing they could say is no. And legit how it started, it's go up to Zach, hey, can I do this? Sure. And the spiral went from there. And again, it created an amazing opportunity. You got to speak to Lloyd Kaufman. Not only speaking to him, but get to do it at Troma itself. Go into Troma's studio, and it's who would have thought? And again, it's amazing opportunities that you never know unless you take the jump. And it's amazing.
You just got to take... That's all it is, Miles. It's a leap of faith.
It really is. But again, that's how all this has been. And again, the content creator's curse. It's either you take that jump or you never know. It's a what if. So
the part of that documentary that was the most in our neck of the woods, of course, was my favorite title card. I'd say the Troma sequence is my favorite, and it is. But the second place to that would definitely have to be the segment that I call Bloodstained Freaks, aka the time Zach Amico and Jeff Cannonball traumatized the children.
Oh my god, that show.
Oh my god, that show. So here's the thing. There are certain things that me and Ray have kind of been sworn to an oath of silence to never say publicly, and for good reason, because that the show that happened on Ready or Not, for reasons that I can't say publicly, were rather strenuous. Just a lot of unfortunately timed injuries, a lot of unfortunate just behaviors, just a lot of unpleasantness. But one of the bigger moments out of that show was a now infamous death match between Zach Amico and the deathmatch vegan and short form soda critic Jeff Cannonball. And needless to say, putting on a death match at 2 in the afternoon in front of a general audience of mainly families is a recipe for the most anus-clenching experience I have ever had in my life. This is as close as I'm going to come to shooting on this thing. There are a few glimpses of me in the background during that whole thing. And, sorry, I got a notification. Did you just see me having a visible panic attack in the background? Because I'm like, oh, when that fucking fork comes out and when the light tubes come out and that thing officially goes to the moon, that is when I was like, oh my god, this is the wrong time of day to be having that, because there are children like whose mothers are like covering their eyes right now. I'm pretty sure some families have for refunds. But it's still, taking that out of it, it was still one of the proudest moments of Zach's career, and it was still one of the craziest fucking things I'd ever been partied to. Might I add, by the way, we did that shit not even 24 hours after Blackcraft Wrestling No Apology. So while they were slitting throats like miles away in New York, like a few miles away in New York City, in Jersey City of all, even closer.
Yeah, they were in Jersey, yeah, because I was at White Eagle.
They were in Jersey City, they were White Eagle Hall for that. Like right up the road the next morning, like we were having a 350 plus pound vegan, deathmatch vegan, and a trauma film comedian, like bash each other over the head with light tubes and staple guns in front of families. Here's the thing, even when like we as a company at Capital Wrestling, even when our stuff, like we threw stuff at the wall and it didn't stick or something would go wrong, nobody went to the moon and back like us. You can hate us, but we did shit differently, and I will defend that shit to my grave.
Yep. And that was a week, because that also happened to be WrestleMania week, and that was a week. I'll say this.
That was a week.
It was cool. Some crazy moments, some stories we can talk about off air, but yeah. That's some crazy shit that happened that week.
So much to talk about, and so much we
can't talk about. Yeah. Best thing I could say, Aussie Open was cool.
Aussie Open was a really nice guy.
But speaking, let's get back to this again.
We're gonna get so much heat for even talking about it.
Hey, we didn't say anything we weren't supposed to. We worked around it. That's the best thing about podcasting. It's like you'll get a story out there without getting a story out there.
You know that the brass at headquarters. Love you both. You know who you are. Love you both.
But speaking of this, we have to get to, again, the meat and potatoes of this week. Because especially, like I said, it's hashtag Catalyst Week here on the podcast. As we promote this Friday, it is going to be 39 Erie Street, Jersey City. Hashtag steal this show. So there we go. Got the graphic up there. Now it's time let's talk a little bit about the show. Let's talk about what to expect and everything like that. So first up, I'm going to put up the graphic here so they can see. And then let us talk about this match coming up, because it's interesting. It's a team that if you're in the tri-state area, you've heard about them, you've seen them multiple time independent tag team champions. The Rep with a NYC legend, Julius Smokes, taking on Heat. So you got I don't want to say a mismatch, because again, you got a legend in Black G's, who I guess is taking under his wing here, Griffin McCoy. You got the guy that I feel like sadly has been like a dark horse in a sense with Young, Dumb, and Broke. Usually you see the front runners there with Jordan, you see Ellis Taylor, but Griff's a very talented individual. So I feel like you're pairing rare when you have someone like Black G's taking Griff under his wing. It's like, that's about to be an interesting combination right there. And when you're under the tutelage of someone like G's and you're going against now a team like the Rep, you can only imagine what is G's telling this kid before Friday.
You have two sides of mentorship here. You have Black G's, who's a legend in his own right, taking this young boy under his wing and says, "You're great, but I can make you greater." Yeah. And on the other side of the fence, you have the Rep, who also have a mentor figure in Julius Smokes, who's been in this game for a very long time. And as you'll see soon, and something else that I'm working on, which I'm sure we'll close out
that's
on.
That's definitely going to be later on. Foreshadowing.
Right. Foreshadowing. But you also have the Rep and Julius and J-Train, but it's much more like a democracy over in the Rep. It's very much they're all equals. So you have one veteran working with two up-and-comers where it's very much more of a democracy, and then you have one that's very much more like a mentor-mentee type relationship. So it'll be very interesting to see if trust and experience will defeat mentorship and guidance, which will reign supreme in that match.
No, definitely. I feel like that's the best pairing right there, just to see, because again, Griffin's already, he's hungry as it is. But when you have someone like Black G's in your ear, that's like, hey, I'm gonna make sure you get to that level. It's like, it's a lose-lose situation. He can't lose. So, again, guys, you're gonna want to see that matchup this Friday. Like I said, Jersey City. But from one banger to another, let's talk about this one. One of my favorite divisions here at Catalyst. Sorry, geez, I'm gonna get taken already for that. The freestyle division, the freestyle championship, as you have champion Ghost Shadow defending against Hot Fire Myron Reed.
This one could potentially, I'm going to say this for a bunch of matches on the show, but this is definitely one that could very much steal the show, because Ghost Shadow has held that freestyle medallion, has held two versions of that medallion, might I add, and he has held it loudly and proudly, going unpinned and unsubmitted since he won that title in his debut match back in Nashville back in 2019. He has held that title for as longer than anyone has in the company, that I want to say. And he has successfully defended that title against the likes of Jason Kincaid, against Facade, against the likes of
Ophidian, even
against
another veteran
Ophidian,
of the game,
another veteran of the game, against the likes of Black Zemis. It wasn't a title defense, but very recently he defended again. He had a match in the Side-Out Championship tournament in the Side-Out $20,000 tournament against Steve Gipke, which was a very interesting clash of styles, and that just showed us how adaptable that guy is. And he recently had a very interesting matchup with all gas, no brakes, Braden Lee, where instead of hitting him with every flippy move in the book, he took him down. He worked at his leg. He was more ground based. He understood that the ultimate weapon in Braden's arsenal was his aerial agility, and he took those two things away from him, and that's how he got the W in that match.
And that's the thing I think with Ghost, like even when I spoke to Mac on the podcast, like Ghost Shadow, especially even back in the day, was someone you wanted to see just because he was that all-around athlete. He was the original, no pun intended to Anthony Bowens, but a 5-tool player. Like he knew, okay, I can work you on the mat, I can outfly you, I can outmove you, And when he's in there, he adapts depending on who's in there. Again, like we mentioned, he wrestled Ophidian. Ophidian's someone that's going to try to do that technical style, try to outpace you. Ghost Shadow's able to do that. When you're facing someone on Friday like Myron Reed, who's that new age, almost cruiserweight style in a sense, I don't know if Ghost is going to be able to outpace him there. So he might have to pull out those technical offense again. But again, Friday we'll have to wait and see. Definitely, I'm looking forward to, because again, you got a freestyle championship and what those matches bring out of any competitor in there. But from that, this one ain't gonna be for the lighthearted, because you have a fight coming up next with the big bad kaiju himself, O'Shea Edwards, taking on Colossal Mike Law.
The Colossal one, Mike Law, this is his chance for what I would refer to as redemption. Yeah. For as talented and for as successful as Mike Law has been in the past, not just on the indies, but in Capital and Catalyst Wrestling, he has hit a bit of a slum recently, a bit of a lull in his track. He's hit a bit of a losing streak in Catalyst ever since losing the Sapphire Television title many moons ago. It very much seems like he's come up short against the likes of Monster Mac, Ghost Shadow, him and back in the before times. Him and Killian McMurphy came up short against the Carter Group in their debut match. He came up short in the Side Out Championship, in the Side Out $20,000 tournament in the first round against Steve Gippy, and he showed Gipke respect after the match. But you can tell that this has been eating Mike alive for a considerable amount of time. He recently just came up short again to Black G's very recently on Catalyst TV. So he seems to be going, it's very much that prison mentality. He wants to go up to the biggest motherfucker in the yard, punch him in the mouth, and he's gonna knock him out, he's gonna deck him, and he's like, the next shot you throw had better fucking kill me, because what do I have to lose at this point? So there's no denying that O'Shea Edwards, he is the big bad kaiju for a reason. He is one of the most legitimate big men working on the indies right now. And there's a guy who steps into the ring, it's like, this is not going to be a laughing matter. This is not going to be a comedy match. This is not going to be a wrestling match. This is going to be a goddamn fight. This man is going to pick you up. He's going to dump you on your head. He's gonna fucking deck you. He's gonna stack your corpse in the corner. He's gonna stomp you to death. He's gonna pin you. He's gonna get paid to do this. So as much as I love the Colossal one, this is not going to be an easy match. And I would definitely suggest that rows 1 through 2 are going to be splashdowns for that.
Yeah, and it's something that when I had Mike Law on the podcast, he spoke about, like, he's hungry. He has that hunger in him, and it's like, when you see that, again, Mike's no stranger to the game. Mike Law is someone that has his tenure, has his knowledge about the business, has been around longer than both you and me combined. And it's like, when you go into a match like this, you got to think, Mike knows he has to do his reps. He has to do his cardio. He has to do everything. Because when you're going against someone like the Big Bad Kaiju, you got to try to fucking hit him with everything you got. Like, O'Shea Edwards is no slouch. The dude is a beast. Is a reason why he's on Ring of Honor right now, as we're speaking. Like, this dude is insane. Like, again, guys, this is a matchup should be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to it. I know Ben is. But my biggest thing with this matchup when we're going into it is, again, who needs to win more? Because, again, we spoke about Mike Law's hungry. Mike Law needs this. But also, O'Shea, he's a part of that Carter group. O'Shea is trying to also make his mark and continue their dominance. As we'll speak about later on with Darius Carter, they're leaving their imprints on Catalyst Wrestling by any means necessary. So let's see. Let's see what is going to happen as we step in this Friday to Jersey City. But as Benny gets back, I'm going to introduce the next matchup we're going to be talking about here. And it is going to be a hashtag Haas fight, as it's the best of 5 series continued. Match number 4. It is sponsored by Downtown Sports. There you go, guys. Sponsorships. If you want to sponsor, hit up Catalyst Wrestling. Again, you're here in the card here. We're going to be talking about a few more matches. Hit them up. Again, great athletes, great content. And also, you're getting your brand around the world there with their amazing stuff being put on the likes of YouTube, Fight TV, and so much more. But we have to talk about Devontae and Matt Mikowski. Guys, that last matchup we talked about with O'Shea, we said that was going to be a fight. We said that was going to be a brawl. This, I don't know what to say. It's a Haas fight. It's going to be a very mixed style, as you have 2 guys that are definitely no problem.
Had to have an impromptu roommate meeting with my very nice.
No problem. We moved on to the best of 5. We're talking about Devontae and Mikowski here, and I'm trying to explain just what to expect when you're going into a Haas fight mixed with so much more. Because you have the technical aspect, you have the powerhouse aspect, you have a lot thrown in there in this best of 5 coming this Friday.
This is the potentially penultimate round of this thing, or it could be the final round of this thing. This has been a brutal war between a legitimate fighter and a legitimate monster. And you have in one corner, you have Matt Mikowski, a legitimate grappler, a legitimate shooter, a legitimate destroyer. And in his last match, he lived up to his moniker of being Weapon X because he knocked out. He didn't pin, he didn't submit, he didn't take a DQ. He knocked out Devontae, left him laying in the middle of the ring. This nearly 300-pound beast of a man, he left him laying in the ring. And this is during this best of 5, he's fallen to the multi-man advantage multiple times. The trickery of Zach Amico when you have the Jersey Devil Deacon in your corner, you know for a fact that this is not going to be a fair fight because you're not just facing Devontae, you're potentially facing the metal, you're potentially facing Big Bruno, you're potentially facing Elijah Proctor, Elijah Cutshaw. You might even have to potentially fight goddamn Lucas if you have to.
Hey, you can't forget about Ray's, that big man Sam there. It's like, you got to have eyes in the back of your head. It's already bad enough that you're in a situation of, you're in this best of 5. You're starting to get that wind of like, okay, I got to get through this. But also, you have a whole damn, I don't even know what to call them. Because it's not just any other faction. It's a just insane group right there. Of just monsters in a sense. So it's
the circus. It's Captain Spaulding's Museum of Monsters and Madmen. That's what the Hudson County Horror Show is. So it very could, I guarantee you, when you wound an animal, it gets angry. If you don't kill it, it's going to come back for you. He did not kill Devontae. He pissed him off. He left him laying in a ring. And do you know what it must be like to be woken up with a splash of cold water by intern Lucas? That's the first thing you see after staring up at the lights. That cannot do much for someone's self-esteem, let alone their anger problems. So if I was Matt Mikowski, I would come not ready for a fight, but for the last 15 minutes of a slasher movie, because that's not going to be a fight. That's going to be carnage.
No. But there you go, guys. Again, but from that, let's move on to a little more of this one's a little bit of a lighter affair, as we have Braden Lee coming back to Catalyst Wrestling, taking on a former freestyle champion, a former television champion, as you have truly blessed KC Navarro. Now this one, again, if you like that fast-paced style, if you like to see some flight, this one's for you. As you have Braden Lee and KC Navarro going at it. And KC, I got to talk about just the growth of that man. Like, again, from KC being legit a kid when we started watching him, to now truly shining and being just paving his way now. Like, it's insane to see. It truly is. So
it is. Like, when you're looking at two guys right now who have very much paralleled each other recently, or at least to a certain point. Two guys, prime of their lives, cut like Olympians, like agile, like, and each of them with a starry look in their eye, trying to grab that next rung, get that next notch, get that proverbial brass ring, so to speak. And this is, to my knowledge, the first time that these guys have faced off in the squared circle. And these are two guys who usually end up being one of the things that people end up talking about when they go home. Even if they don't close out the show, you will not forget a Casey Navarro match, and you will not forget a Braden Lee match. And both guys have a lot to prove coming out of this one, because this could be the one that very much determines the rest of their 2021 and what's going into 2022. Because bear in mind, Casey Navarro he's coming off of 2 losses back to back. Maybe even he's coming off to 2 championship failures. He lost his Sapphire Television Championship that he had defended all across Sydal. He lost it to the Jersey Muscle Jock Steve Gipke, and very recently he tried to go for that Grand Slam. He tried to defeat Colby Carino for his Catalyst Wrestling Championship, and he also came up short. So you've got to think that he doesn't see, for someone who's been going after champions recently, I guarantee you he sees Braden less as an opponent and more as a nuisance, more of a road bump on his way back to championship gold. Meanwhile, you have Braden, ever humble, ever respectful. Even if someone doesn't like him, he probably sees this as one of the biggest matches of his career, just because of how much he respects Casey's ability. And I put that, a lot more of that down to like Casey and just this way he's trying to present himself like Conor McGregor, and that his shit don't stink and he thinks he's better than everybody else, that he's truly blessed. He's showing up in his like chicken and waffle sneakers in his Lambo, but this is still a guy who has to get in the ring and perform, and there's very few people who do it better than Casey Navarro right now, and there's very few people who do it better than Braden Lee. In his recent matches with Ghost Shadow, Jordan Oliver, Griffin McCoy, he has impressed across the board every single time, and this is going to be his first time performing in front of the Catalyst faithful, not just on Sydal, not just at other offshore areas. This is going to be his first time performing in front of a crowd for this company, so it's going to be very interesting how the audience take to him live.
Definitely will, and I feel like, again, this is the matchup. Like I said, if anything is selling you on this, guys, it has to be this. This is going to be
This is the one you are tell a friend, tell 2 friends, bring your phone, bring your camera, bring your like CVS camera, whatever you got fucking on you. Bring your fucking BlackBerry phone if you have to. I don't care. Do whatever you got. Send a signal fire. This is the one you want to be in the building for, because when you're seeing, because when Saturday morning rolls around and there's like 8 gifs of the spectacular Moon Man bullshit that these two are about to do, you're gonna kick yourself in the ass that you didn't get your ass out to Jersey City and see this one.
This is gonna be, again, a highlight reel of a match, guys. But from there, let's keep it going, because we have to talk about some gold. We have to talk about the tag team championships on the line, as Hot Boys, I gotta say like that, not Bobby Randall's gonna get me. But Hot Boys International defending the Catalyst Tag Team Championships against a more recent duo, To Infinity and the Pond, TIM, teaming up with Rob Killjoy here on Friday. I can't wait. When you have this one is going to be insane.
This one is very special because very recently there's a lot of history there's a lot of levels going into this. Hot Boys International have held those titles successfully since they won them almost 2 years ago now in Brooklyn, New York.
Yep.
They won those titles successfully from the rep. They carried them from the old guard into the new. They got shiny new belts, and they have held them successfully since that time. And very recently, they just took on the duo of Timmy Lou Retton and Rob Killjoy. And it was one of the very few times that that Hot Boys International have taken the easy way out and have taken the DQ win over another team. So you have to wonder, like, how big of a threat do the Hot Boys perceive to Infinity and Upon to be? And you look at what that tag team has spawned out of, because the Ugly Ducklings that we've all known and loved over the years, as of right now, is not being presented as the trio that we're all used to. As we all, Coach Mikey has stepped away full time from the wrestling business to live his life and be safe, and I fully respect that decision. And coming back for very rare, for infrequent appearances, mostly in his neck of the woods. And of course, you have Lance Lude, who is dealing with his real life health issues, which is very unfortunate. And if you go send him support, because that man has been a wonderful human being to me, Ray, and a lot of other people. And so that leaves behind Rob Killjoy, who, in my opinion, who has been one of the most consistently entertaining people on the indies for years. And this guy is so unappreciated and so underrated. And you pair him with somebody like Timmy, who is just a ball of fire in that ring. And one of those few people who's genuinely, like, you see the state of him now compared to 3 or 4 years ago, just how he's changed his body, how he's really invigorated himself, how he's rebranded with this new Infinite gimmick, how he's really just embraced himself. And like him and Rob together, I think is a winning combination. And so I genuinely think if there is a team who can finally get those golden belts off of the Hot Boys, it might just be them. But you gotta keep in mind, this has been a very successful Hot Boy summer for all of these guys, and so I know that they don't want to go into the fall, into the winter season without those belts. So this is going to be, I guarantee you, they're going to pull out every trick in the book, especially if they have that rapscallion Bobby Orlando in their corner.
No, definitely. And again, we have to put that out there. Rob Killjoy, a tag team specialist. It's not his first go around in that tag team scenario. You have TIM, who, again, like you mentioned, he's went through this evolution from that former gymnasty boy into the Infinite now. And I feel like, again, with that evolution, gotten better and more knowledgeable, and pairing him and Rob Killjoy, again, this might be the winning pair. But again, who knows what Hot Boys are going to do? Who knows what pairing of Hot Boys we'll see? Because who knows? We could get Bobby Jr. in there on Friday. They might throw a monkey wrench in there. So you never know.
You never know. You never know. Bobby Jr. is the one that calls the shots. He really is the Tony Soprano of the whole Hot Boys organization.
He's that Michael P.S. Hayes, man. He's gonna freebird them in.
Dude.
Well, let's keep it going here as we have some ladies action happening this Friday. As we have Valentina Vasquez taking on Kaya McKenna. I feel like I butchered that name. I'm so sorry. I'll pay for that later. But you have, again, great women's action. I feel like you can't have a show like this without giving some ladies attention as well. And this should be great. Valentina's actual in-ring debut here for Callis. We've seen what she's done as far as with Anthony Yang being that, like, sinister voice in his ear. Like, it's brought a different side of Anthony Gangone, and I feel like we might see that on Friday in her ring style.
When you want to cause chaos, you want to like stir shit up. You gotta look to your closest allies, and Anthony Gangone found the baddest bitch on the block, and she's about to prove to the Catalyst roster that she truly can live up to that moniker. Yep. And you have McKenna, who I will be fully transparent and say that I've actually never seen before, but judging by her appearance, her rather Wicca exterior, This is again another woman who very much dives into the more ethereal side of the game.
Yeah, this one's gonna be, again, if you're not that lighthearted, stay away from this one. This is going to be very spooky, if you will.
This is going to be a little spooky one. But, like, you have one of the last times I saw Valentina mix it up was in a no-ring match in an art gallery, which was a very which is a crazy fucking time, and you can check that out on her YouTube. But yeah, this is one. This is one you're gonna want to watch. The triumphant return of women's wrestling to Catalyst Wrestling after a long hiatus, and we're glad to have it back in the hallowed halls of Catalyst Wrestling. We're looking to our women's division. I have no doubt is going to be one of the biggest and one of the best going forward in time.
Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it. It's definitely going to change the game there. But we have to talk about this one because again, we've made this comment about every single match, but when we're talking about this next one, this truly can possibly steal this show, as it is for the Sapphire TV Championship. You have another bona fide legend, 26 years in the game, the notorious 187 Homicide, going head to head with KTB, going head to head with Steve Gipke. If I'm Steve Gipke, I better hold on to that belt tight. Because I'm great. Jeez.
You have two people coming for you on that show. You have not only KTB, who's one of the most ruthless men in the game, who is literally a beast, but you have a legend of this game, someone who is beloved in and out of the ring by the fans, by his constituents, a man who has given back to this business time and time again, who has been away from Catalyst for quite some time now. Ever since he suffered a loss to Black G's, Homicide really hasn't been seen, especially after he lost the Catalyst title many moons ago. So you'll have to wonder, this is the first time he will be back in a ring for Catalyst in some time. And I'm curious, will there be any ring rust on the Notorious 187 as far as Catalyst is concerned?
I don't know if you can really say ring rust for a guy like Homicide. It's a guy that, again, he's wrestled longer than we both have been alive. And that's not a slight to him. It's legit just how great he is. And again, it's a guy I've been lucky to be mentored by. I've learned so much from Homicide. And both of these guys walking into this match, KTB, actually, he's gotten to see what Homicide's about. And if it's a Jersey All-Pro ring, if it's a GCW ring. So KTB knows this ain't a joke going on to Friday. It's one thing, you have Homicide in there, but also that Sapphire TV Championship. Again, this has been almost a workhorse championship at Catalyst. And you have three guys in there that are workhorses. Homicide, again, 26 years in the game. The dude has wrestled icons like Kojima. It's insane. You got Steve Gipke, a young gun in this game, but the dude has worked for that championship. He went through everything he could. He went through hell to get that championship.
That man spent an entire count. He comes up short in Brooklyn. He scratches and claws his way through the side out tournament, gets the wind knocked out of him, gets his leg taken out, muscles through, wins $20,000, and then successfully makes Casey Navarro say the words, "I quit." Finally wins that championship, takes the fight to Wrecking Ball Legursky rather recently, and fresh off of that, he now has to prepare for two different opponents. And I know that this is a cliched thing to say whenever you're talking about a triple threat match. Steve Gipke does not even need to be involved in the decision of this match to lose his championship. If KTB gets the fall on Homicide on the 17th, Gipke could walk out without his title that night, and he doesn't even have to be involved.
And that's, you gotta hate, it's the worst thing for a champion. You're going into this oh, okay, boom, I can take the day off. It's a three-way. But you have to be more vigilant than ever. Because again, that one fall, Homicide could pin KTB. That's it.
Exactly.
Again, you have to look at that. But again, all three of these guys are going to be gunning for that championship, fighting. And that hell that Steve Gipke went through, I don't think he's going out Friday without that championship. No way in hell that he's walking out without that championship. But again, I might be a little biased and say, let's see, maybe Homicide pulls off a win. But we'll see what happens Friday. But
most definitely,
it is time now. It's the creme de la creme here. These two have been just gunning for each other. These two, you've seen memes all over this week on Catalyst Wrestling about this matchup. It is for the Catalyst Championship. you have the All-Father himself, Darius Carter, challenging the last bastion he is, Colby Corino.
This is very rarely do I use the word like momentous, but this is a rather momentous matchup because, again, to my knowledge, this will be the first time that these two have faced off, at least in this stage of their careers.
Yeah. Which is weird just because of the style.
You'd think that these two would have crossed paths at one point or another, but very surprisingly, no. This is one, very rarely do matches, very much of championship matches feel big like they're supposed to, but this feels like a legitimate championship match between a man who has, love him or hate him, has been consistent in the company since he arrived many years ago and went unpinned for a significant amount of time, went unsubmitted for a significant amount of time, who still has, and as for the entire year, has yet to suffer one pinfall loss within this calendar year. Darius Carter, as much as he will make you, Darius Carter, for as much as he will makes people revile him, is consistently one of the best technicians, one of the best old school grapplers in the game. Very much Karl Gotch inspired. He's an old school wrestler from the trunks to the minimalist outfit to the mask. This is a man who lives and breathes excess, who lives and breathes the finer things in life. But this is a man who is also one of the most technically proficient people in the game right now, and he's one of those very rare heels who actually succeeds at getting under your skin.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who, despite having done many immeasurably successful things in this company, has never had, let alone a Catalyst Championship match, has never had a championship opportunity, period, in this company.
I saw what Darius is tweeting, and it's like, it's one thing to be gunning for a championship, it's another to be just prived away from it for so long.
Yeah.
And again, like you mentioned, it's been years. It's close to almost 4 years now that Darius has been around in Catalyst Wrestling or some form of it. And you got to think that's just, again, he's already has a fire lit under him because that's just how he is no matter what match. It's another to add fuel to it doing this. And again, Colby Corino, he has his work cut out for him. He's already going through, again, he just had what was an insane matchup with his own father a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now he's going into this. It's like, how do you prepare?
On the other side of the ring, you do have Colby Corino, who, in a lot of ways, is very similar to Darius. Much more slick, much more modern, much more flashy, but still comes from an old school mentality of, I am going to let my work speak for itself. I am going to go in the ring. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to take whoever I'm working to a great match, and I'm going to leave victorious because I am good at what I do. We referred to him in passing in Catalyst as Catalyst Wrestling's indispensable man, and that is very much the truth, because whether it be on the island of Saidao, in Brooklyn, in a warehouse, he went and defended the Catalyst Wrestling Championship at GCW's All Night Long event. And this is a guy who has consistently, day in and day out, represented the company to the best of his ability and has made the Catalyst title really mean something. He's defeated the likes of Homicide, Black G's, Jordan Oliver, Casey Navarro. But again, the contrast begins with, these are two men of very different upbringing. You have one who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and you have another who has worked through some very tough times in his life, who has a legacy to live up to as a father who is synonymous with this game, and who's trying to strike out on his own and establish his own mark on the business. And so he's worked very hard to build something, and it's very clear to me that Darius is very hell-bent on taking that away from him.
So again, you have two parallel lines in a sense with how they're trying to get to their destinations, but just some crazy motives going into it. But again, guys, this is one we have to throw the pun in there again that could possibly steal the show, and possibly will close it out and just again, it's insane.
If you want to capture, and with no disrespect to NWA Power and everything they're doing over there, if you really want to feel like you are in the audience for an old school NWA championship match, like I'm talking like the old school days, like Dusty and Flair, or even maybe Bruiser Brody and Ric Flair, or like Harley Race, or any of the names therein. Yeah. If you want to feel like you are back at a classic NWA show for a professional wrestling match, you cannot do much better than this, and this is going to be a must-see matchup. And I encourage you to see it live, but it will be put out on Catalyst Television, and it is going to be a must-see match. So this is one you cannot miss.
Definitely. And again, guys, if we haven't sold you this show, I don't know what will. There's definitely a lot more content we'll put out this week by Catalyst that definitely will sell the show for you, just telling you about Steal This Show. But before we start wrapping this up, we do have to talk about one more project of yours. We alluded to it earlier when we spoke about the first match for this Friday. We got to talk about a future documentary in the works. Let's talk about it here. Showing the graphic that we got to talk about, as we're talking J Train himself, the Julius Smoke story. How the hell did you come up with this one? How'd you get J Train to get in front of a camera like this?
This one has been an adventure for me, because this is one, with full disclosure, I had been struggling with this one for a while, because like, to condense down Julius Smokes to less than 45 minutes, in my opinion, is a Herculean task, because that man, and I mean this in the best possible way, he is a motor mouth human being. He will go and go and go, and you don't know where the person starts and the gospel begins, because that is a man who has been everywhere, done everything, who has seen a lot, has lived a life, and still has a lot more life to live. This is a man who, even at this stage of his life, is still busting out drop kicks and top rope moves. This is a guy who still brings it every single time, be it on his own, be it in Catalyst, be it anywhere else. And I was thinking to myself, wow, this is a guy who really is this great cult figure within New York professional wrestling. And I thought to myself, wow, this is a guy who I could just really put this dude in front of a camera for 45 minutes, hit go, and that could be a thing. And so this is one that I am fully admitting, it's going to be a documentary. This is going to be 45% documentary, 55% shoot interview, because this is a guy who, I'd say with Julius Smoke's structure kind of goes out the window a little bit. I hit go. We went to his apartment. He fixed me some refreshments, if you catch my Tokyo Drift on that one. And I vibed with that man for an entire night, and we spoke about everything. Jersey All-Pro, Ring of Honor, Go Shadow, Homicide, Buddha Head Records.
Wow.
Every cannabis. We talk about weed for, like, there is a sequence in this movie at the halfway point where I let this man talk about weed for like 5 minutes, and it is some of the best shit you will ever see.
Oh my God. That's right there. I don't even want to see the doc. I want to see what you're going to leave sadly on the fucking... Yeah, because it's like there's going to be at least hours worth of content there.
That really is the thing. I had originally planned to have this out during the summer, and in addition to like several real world things I needed to deal with, working on this movie has just been a challenge, because I'm like, what the fuck do I cut? I want to keep this all in here. This is
which also we're in a pandemic, so it's like it's still also like shit. You're dealing with a lot more stuff than just like the content aspect of it. It's also like, hey, I'm trying not to die. So let me work on that first, and then we'll get to editing. Like, also, shout out to Conrad in the chat. How's it going, brother? But so right now, as we speak, where are you with this documentary? Like,
I am in the final stages with it. I have a rough cut ready to go. It just needs a lot of finesse. It needs a lot of polish. It's really, it just comes down to me sitting down like for an extended period of time, really going through it with a fine-tooth comb and thinking, okay, I can lose 10 seconds here. I can lose 10 seconds here. Let's see how best I could structure this in a way that I can get this incredible man's personality across, but still, like, you have something that doesn't go, as I don't want this thing to be an hour this time. I want this thing to be at least 45 minutes.
Which, oh my God, I can only imagine. That's the worst. Because it's like, with this, I always said my goal was, let me make sure every episode's an hour. I have not hit that goal once yet. I've gone hour 5, hour 10. This has gone an hour and a half. And it's like, you can only imagine you're having to edit something like that. That's like, you already have abundance of content right there. To get it down to 45 minutes, not even an hour, it's like, that's, jeez.
It's a challenge. Yeah. It's a real challenge. Like, with everything going on in my life right now, because I left my job at Rite Aid, finally, after 5 years, and I've joined on with another part-time gig. I'm back at Gas Digital. I'm working on my content. I said it to start it, and I'll bring it full circle, and I'll say it again. I am the busiest I've ever been, and I've never been more stressed, but I've never been more fulfilled creatively. Yeah. I'm writing, I'm editing, I'm designing T-shirts, I'm writing articles and listicles, I'm working on my own content. I am the closest I've ever been to achieving what I've been wanting to do for years. And there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be painful moments, but you just got to keep rolling through it. Know when to take distance, know when to play it safe, and know when to take a risk. There's just a lot of stuff like going on that can get in the way, but you just have to push through that and find the people in your life who will support you, the people in your life who will give you guidance, and the people in your life who are willing to take those calculated risks with you.
No, exactly. And again, that's biggest thing with this, definitely you got to push yourself first. Biggest thing, definitely, if anyone's taking anything from this, take that leap, but then also find those that are willing to support you with that leap. Because that's going to be the biggest thing when getting through all this, is finding who's going to be there to help you get through these support moments. And also knowing when, okay, I'm doing this, but I also have to take that break. Because that's the biggest thing I feel like, especially when doing content. It's like we push ourselves to the point of being burnt out that you're like, what do I do now? You got to know when to take that break, relax, know that, hey, the content will be there. You got to focus on yourself as well. The biggest thing with all this.
Precisely.
Definitely. But
thank you for having me on, sir.
Definitely, brother. I got to say again, thank you so much for coming through. I love you, man, for talking, again, the amazing stuff that you're doing, talking Catalyst Wrestling. Again, guys, this Friday, if we haven't sold you enough, I don't know what will. Maybe it's...
Hashtag steal this show. Don't miss it. And I'm not just saying that because Matthew Ryan and Nash Daniels have threatened me with a cattle prod if I don't. Come see this show and help us out with that. There's gonna
definitely, guys. But also, don't forget, tomorrow, 7 p.m., got to put the graphic right there. I will be live right here, same channels, same frame right here, with Matthew Ryan himself. We'll be talking Catalyst. We'll be catching up because it's been a minute since I've gotten to speaking to the man right there. So let's see what he says, because it's going to be an insane conversation, because I get to get into the mindset a little bit of someone that's been a mentor to both of us. So that's going to be fun. But again, guys, don't forget, all the links will be in the description to go support.
Have fun deciphering that man's Carney Moonman language.
Oh, geez, that's gonna be a time. Also, guys, don't forget, if you want to follow me, you can do so. Twitch.tv/Ray_Mundo on YouTube, at Ray Mundo on the Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I still haven't posted, but we'll get something out there eventually. Ray_Mundo. Also, just because I gotta plug it as well, because hey, it's there, it's amazing. Go buy the merch. Whatamaneuver.com. Ray_Mundo. Go get that Law of Gaming t-shirt. Also, before we go, hit up this man for merch, guys. This dude creates some amazing designs. I'm a part of What a Maneuver over there on that site. And there's a bunch of designs that this guy has created that are amazing.
If you've seen Yoke's Bodega, that's another.
It's amazing design right there.
A lot of designs for the man, the myth, the legend, Michael Vincent Young. So definitely check those out. Check out my YouTube, Benjamin Falbo. I'm there. You want to find me on Twitter? Don't know why you'd want to. I really just post about Lucifer and cartoons and other random wrestling bullshit. But if you want to follow me for that kind of stuff, at Falbo_Benjamin. That is FALBO_BENJAMIN. You can check out my podcast. It Came from Queens. I do my own interviews with people over there infrequently. I'm still in the process of editing a 2.5-hour script reading that me and Stephanie Sotili did of the now rejected Powerpuff Girls live action script.
Ooh, well then. Again, guys, links for all that will be down below, even including the podcast that I can't wait to hear come back, because it's been a fun one. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people. And as always, follow the law. I've been the Law Ray Raimundo. This has been episode number 8 of season 2. I still don't know how we're still here, but hey, see you guys tomorrow. Peace and